First off, thanks for joining me here in our studio, and let's begin this royalty conversation with a dose of reality. These checks will absolutely fluctuate. They may go even higher than they are today, but what if they drift lower over time, as many of us expect? What if they go away completely someday? What if this month's check is your last check? How does that change your life tomorrow? The other day, we had Bill Rourke in our studio sitting right here talking about this stuff, and we talked about what Bill likes to tell people when they ask him for advice. He likes the 50-30-20 rule. What does that mean? It means pretty simple. Save 50% of your check each month, pay 30% to taxes, and then use the remaining 20% for whatever the heck you want. Now, that's Bill's default recommendation, but is it the right strategy for you? I can't answer that. I don't know your specifics. If I did, that would help. But for some of you, the concept might be right. But maybe the percentages need to be tweaked a little bit, right? So to find out exactly what's right for you, you need to do some planning, either on your own or with professionals who you prefer to lean on and who you can trust. We believe your tax pro and your financial pro should be working together and collaborating to deliver you a complete service. That's exactly why we created Stonehouse Accounting and Stonehouse Investment Management. And for our clients who are using both, they understand the benefit of good teamwork. Now let's take a close look at a great example of how we can use that fuel your future concept. We're going to look at a hypothetical couple here. My apologies to anyone who's ever named John and Mary Sample because I use their names all the time. I promise I don't know you, but your name's easy to use. So let me set this up for you. John and Mary are both 50 years old. They've been saving for retirement, but of course, like so many of us, wish they had started earlier. They have about $30,000 in cash, a CD worth about $75,000, and collectively have about $350,000 in retirement money via their 401ks. They both work and make a total of about $150,000 a year. John and Mary also spend roughly $7,000 a month, and because that they knew they wanted to retire early, they both contribute about 18% of their incomes to their retirement plans at work. John and Mary know that life expectancy is not a guarantee. It's an average. So they really want to retire at age 60, but the math isn't quite supporting that. It's looking more like 65 for them. You can see here in this chart that the blue bars represent the projected value of their portfolio throughout the next 40 years. For the first 10 years, their value climbs nicely. Look at that green arrow. They're saving money, and it has 10 years to still grow. Then, where the yellow star is, you see that they reach their peak value at about age 60, where they hope to retire. But then, things change. They stop saving and suddenly turn on that switch to start withdrawing from their portfolio. So you can see the red arrow here that based on their current spending habits, their asset value begins to drop pretty quickly. Right around age 67, where the black arrow starts, it shows the rate of decline changes a little bit, and that's because they start collecting Social Security and need to draw a little bit less from their investments. Sadly, though, in this example, they would be running out of money probably around age 82. That's not ideal for them. We'd like to see funding to age 90. This is all pretty normal stuff. What we would normally suggest to someone here in this situation is to maybe save a little bit more, consider spending a little bit less in retirement or even now, consider working longer, or maybe even think about some part-time work. Each of these things can, on their own, can be helpful, but all of these things, all of these adjustments can be really powerful if used together. So now a new chapter is opened in John and Mary's life. Royalties started kicking in a few years ago, which is how they eliminated most of their debts and how they also can afford to do 18% of their incomes into their retirement plans. But recently, these checks have grown. And much like the Grinch's heart at Christmas time, their checks grew 3 sizes that day. Sorry. I get a little carried away sometimes, but it's safe to say that John and Mary have been seeing a substantial uptick in their royalties. The last 3 months have averaged about $10,000 to $15,000 per month. So here's where we might apply that 50-30-20 rule to help them accelerate their retirement goal. First, we encourage them to keep doing exactly what they've been doing before royalties even came into the scene. Remember, we recommend viewing your royalty checks as extra. Based on their average checks of late, let's apply the 50-30-20 rule to checks that are $12,000 a month. 50% is saved and tucked away each month, which is about $6,000. 30% is earmarked for taxes each month, which is about $3,600. And that 20% remaining in your checking, it remains in your checking account each month. That's about $2,400 a month. That means that they could be saving about $72,000 a year toward their retirement goal. Plus, they still have an extra $28,800 toward whatever they want to do this year. And they should have all their tax liability accounted for too. That's what the 30% was for. I love this plan. It provides a way for them to pay the tax they owe, pay themselves in the future, and pay themselves today too. So now we'll look at what their future looks like if they still fund their 401ks and now add another $72,000 a year toward that early retirement goal. That's a lot of fuel for your future. Remember, these checks are extra and we cannot predict how much they will be nor how long they will last. What we can do, though, is to model out a few scenarios. So let's see how things change for John and Mary if these levels of royalties last for just 2 years. You'll recognize the same blue bars from my early example before. But now, using the green bars, you can see how much faster the first 2 years grow. And that sets the level higher the rest of the way. Not only to peak at age 60 when they retire, but you can also see that it extends all the way out, so much that it does make it to age 90. In fact, you can see at the bottom that just superfunding this portfolio for 2 solid years gains you about 8 years in retirement. That's powerful. But what if these royalties last longer? What if John and Mary get 5 years of royalties instead of 2? Let's take a look. Look at those first 5 years. Talk about fueling your future. That's like jet fuel for John and Mary. It puts their peak much higher than what we just saw before. And because of that higher level, the rate at which they're drawing it down is just a smaller, more manageable percentage. And you can see when their Social Security kicks in, it actually turns their values back upward a bit. In this scenario, they could be passing well over $1 million to their family too. I mean, wow, that's fantastic. Do we even dare to imagine if these royalties could sustain for 10 years? I say yes. Let's take a peek at least, right? Why not? Look at that liftoff in the first 10 years. That's not jet fuel, man. That is rocket fuel. It puts them in a whole new level. It puts them over $2 million at retirement age of 60. It gives them a ton of cushion throughout their whole retirement, and it shows the potential to leave millions of dollars to their children and to their grandchildren. Whew, that was a lot of info in a short time. So let's take a second to digest all of that. I want to first put a disclosure in here, though. Some of what I just described might sound just like your situation, but some of it might be totally different compared to what you have going on. All that's fine. This is just one example. You might be looking at this and say, hey, of course all the numbers look good. You're showing this person putting in all of their money into investments, but that's not realistic for me. Wait a minute, that's not actually correct. Remember, what I applied here was the 50-30-20 rule. In each of these examples, we're showing saving money, paying all your taxes, and don't forget, we're still using about $28,000 a year for spending on anything you want. That's a big number. Also, something to keep in mind is why we feel so passionate about coordinating your taxes and your investment planning. When you apply discipline and planning to these royalty checks, it allows you additional benefits we haven't even touched on. For example, because the royalty money that's coming in is going to be taxable anyway, your spending cash is increased. That means that John and Mary can each increase their retirement contributions through their work plans, probably even max out their contributions without having any less spendable money each month. That might be an extra $20,000 to $30,000 of money that would have been taxed this year, but instead it's now being tucked away before taxes into their retirement plans, boosting them even more for their retirement goal. That's about as exciting as it gets in our business. We just love helping people like you figure this stuff out. So, I got to stop. I got to leave it here. I can go on and on about all the ways that we can help you save taxes, be smart with your money, and fuel your future. If you find yourself in the fortunate situation where royalties are flowing into your household, this is very well might be your best chance ever to change your stars and not only secure your own future, but generations after you. Again, that's called generational wealth. It's an opportunity that most people never have a chance for, but it's probably a window that only stays open for a while. So don't leave it to chance. Make the most of your moment in time. Contact us here at Stonehouse and ask about our Fuel Your Future program today. If you qualify, we'll run your tax analysis and our investment analysis simultaneously side by side. You'll either find out some great ideas and strategies to consider and start implementing, or you'll at least feel better that you're doing all the right things already. We're a local team comprised of people from Susquehanna, Bradford, and Wyoming counties. Helping our neighbors is what we do. We hope to hear from you soon.